Hello and welcome to Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business. Joining me today is Tanya Eklund, a realtor with Remax Real Estate Central and the Tanya Eklund Group in Calgary. Thanks for joining us today, Tanya.
Thank you, Mario.
Well, let's talk about the booming Calgary real estate market these days. Couple of records set in April and now in May, according to the Real Estate Board's latest statistics. Let's look at some of the segments of the market. First, the MLS sales. They're up 177% from a year ago. Tell me what's happening in terms of demand in the market, Tanya.
Well, I think we have to really dig into the numbers, first of all, Mario, because those numbers are coming off of year-to-date sales over last year versus this year. And last April, we were down, I think it was 68% in sales, and May was about 45%. So yes, it is a seller's market in the detached home sector. Yes, things are selling. And it's, been very, very busy. We are starting to see more inventory come to the market. I just saw the stats that were released yesterday. And now at this point for the detached home sector, we have enough demand to keep up to the supply. But in the next 30 to 60 days, if that supply continues to increase, I think we are going to see, I believe, a little bit of a more balanced market in the detached home sector.
Now, you mentioned the inventory, just some numbers here. The new listings were up 88% from a year ago. Active listings are almost 14% higher than they were a year ago. Granted, Tanya, that the numbers are compared to a year ago when the market kind of collapsed, so to speak, right? But many of the stuff that we're going through today, in terms of the lockdowns, although as of yesterday, we kind of started easing up. But in April and May, though, we were under many of the similar conditions that we were April, May of a year ago. So I'm just wondering, where has all that demand come from? Where have all these buyers come from?
Great question, Mario. And I have a 2 to 3 answers for that. So the first is just excessively low interest rates. I mean, we're at a historic low.
Yeah.
They have not gone up. In fact, they've gone down in the last 14 months. So that's number one. It's very cheap to borrow money right now. Number two is the way that we live and work has completely evolved in the last 12 months. So, if we didn't have COVID, we would go on our merry lives and our work and personal life would be the same. But now you have families that are in smaller houses that they can't get away from each other. And I even have a lot of single people right now that are in condos that are still 1,000 square feet. And they're like, get me out of this place. I have computers set up at my dining room table and I'm eating and working and I'm here for 24/7. And so the way we live and work has changed. And coupled with cheap interest rates, buyers are thinking, why wouldn't I, enter the market now and move up in value when it's cheap to borrow money?
Yeah, and from what I understand, just talking to other real estate experts over the last few months, the first-time buyer is out in full force now, aren't they?
Well, and they are, and absolutely. I mean, even though we have seen a very strong market from the selling perspective, I think because of low interest rates, you're having these first-time home buyers really see value in entering the market. Now, we did have the stress test come into effect June 1st. So your application on your offer to purchase had to be submitted before then to follow the old rules. Yeah. And we really think that the stress test will probably affect the first-time home buyer the most. But again, when we see these stress tests come into play, I think there's this big oh my goodness, but it kind of just all works itself out.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about prices. The average, not the average, but the total residential price of the benchmark prices, as Kreb likes to call it, was up by 10%, plus 10% from a year ago. What's happening with prices there, and why are the prices up so? I shouldn't say so high, but it's a significant.
Yeah, they are higher. Yeah, we haven't seen those gains, Mario, since 2013 and 14 combined in 2 years. And one of the reasons that we're seeing an increase, now I want to make it clear that is a blanket average sale price increase. And so you really have to dissect the areas of the city and the price point that we're speaking at. That doesn't mean if you've, selling an $800,000 home, it's worth 10% more, or a $2 million home. That's an average. And so what we're seeing is in different areas and in different price ranges, that number is different. So for example, condos have still historically in the last 4 months still really been struggling. We're not seeing gains in that market. The biggest gain is detached homes under 650, 750. And the reason that's crept up is because we're seeing multiple offers. We're seeing the home at 699 now sell for 760,000. We're seeing the odd $1 million home sell for 1.1. And so we're seeing these multiple offers again. And so it's making these prices in certain areas, in certain communities, in certain styles creep up in value.
Okay, super. Last question I have for you, Tanya, as we look towards the future into the rest of this month and July and the rest of summer. What do you expect from the market?
Oh, I'd be worth $1 gazillion if I had the answer to that. But if I was going to make a guess, I believe that we're still probably going to have a fairly strong market this year. Long term, there's a lot of things that we have to contend with. We still have to contend with Alberta's struggling oil and gas economy. We have to contend with the way the federal government might be curbing debt, trying to get rid of, by implementing things like capital gains on your personal residence. So 6 to 12 months, I don't know, but I do believe the next 3 to 4 months are still going to be strong. Now, as we see inventory creep up, if we don't have the demand to meet that inventory, I see probably just a leveling off in the market and probably just a little bit more stable market. So buyers will have that opportunity when they're purchasing under that 750 detached to not have to make a decision in 2 to 3 hours.
Okay, I lied. I do have a couple of more questions.
Yes.
Quick questions. First of all, your best piece of advice for potential home buyers right now?
Right now, and again, depending on what sector you're in, I would say if you're in the detached under 750, be patient. Have your finances in order. Have your inspector picked out. Have your pre-approval all done. Be ready. Ask your mortgage broker if you have enough down to write an offer without subject to financing, because not having a financing condition in a multiple offer strengthens your offer. For buyers looking at condos, it's a beautiful time to buy a condo. There's a lot of great deals out there because our supply is so high. You have your pick of the litter, so to speak. So those would be my two probably pieces of advice for buyers right now.
Okay, and on the flip side of the coin, how about for sellers? What's your advice for sellers right now?
Well, we're seeing a lot of sellers come to market because they hear the market is so good, but make sure you're educated. Again, when we hear that average sale price is up over 10%, it's not a blanket comment. It pertains to certain sectors. So make sure before you make this decision to list your house that you have a really good understanding of value. Interview some realtors, speak to your friends, have a really good idea, because your home may not be up 10%. It may not be worth it for you to sell it now based on when you purchased it. And be ready when your home goes to market. You be ready. Leave for a few days, go to the mountains, go to BC when you can. So be prepared.
Okay, super. Thanks a lot for joining us today, Tanya.
Thank you for having me, Mario. Nice to see you.
Okay, super. That was Tanya Eklund, who is a realtor with Remax Real Estate Central and the Tanya Eklund Group. This has been Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business. Thanks for joining us today.